We're talking about Donald Trump and what he says.
Yes. And
Donald Trump says.
And you'd much rather talk about what Donald Trump allegedly said than what Donald Trump did in office.
I'm talking about
what he did in office, Jake.
What he said publicly.
1.5% inflation.
The military to go after the enemy within, which is the American people.
He did not say that, Jake.
The enemy within?
He said that he was going to send the military after the American people. Show me the quote where he said
he was going to. He said the enemy within.
He said far-left lunatics. He's talking about people rioting
and Schiff.
He's talking about people rioting after the election. I think
the Pelosi's were rioting after the election.
He said
Adam Schiff was rioting after the election.
You're using two separate phrases. He said about using the military that far-left lunatics, people who riot in the wake of an election, people who burn down American cities in the summer of 2020, yes, we should have a federal law enforcement.
All right, y'all, we are back with another video, and here we go again. Now, this right here just sums it all up. You got corrupt Jake Tapper, Dana Bash, Christian Worker, all of these people, every time they interview J.D. Vance, they never want to talk about the economy. They never want to talk about the borders or any of that. They always want to talk about what Donald Trump said or what he did or whatever the case may be. They listening to people Donald Trump fired years ago that got mad. So they just going out, then they comparing them to Hitler, just all type of stuff. And this is the time where, like I said, J.D. Vance, he just absolutely goes off. I mean, just straight just blows up. He is just sick of this crap, and I don't blame him at all. These people don't say anything about Kamala Harris. All they want to say is Donald Trump said this, Donald Trump said that. It's always what Donald Trump says. And it's just crazy. So I definitely need y'all to watch this entire video and watch how J.D. Vance just destroys every last one of these CNN hosts, Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, Christian Worker, anybody that wants to step up. Because the only thing they do is they running with these false accusations. They study calling this man a fascist and all type of stuff. And it just don't make sense. They do all of this crying about what Donald Trump say, but these the same people that say his rally was going to be a Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden, the same people that's calling him Hitler. They're saying all of these crazy things about this man. And J.D. Vance is sick of it. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight into it. Please hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel. I want to thank everybody, especially the ones who always stay to the very end. The more you watch the entire video, you hit the like button, YouTube will share it so more people can see the video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight into it, y'all. Let's go.
Vance is that man. Putting on a masterclass today on CNN versus Jake Tapper, all right? So first off, here's J.D. Vance dissecting and destroying the hoaxes against Donald Trump.
What you're talking about is an anonymously sourced story, or one guy
nothing anonymously sourced,
or who one guy who is a disgruntled employee.
I told you,
five other people pushed back against him and said that what he said was dishonest. So why don't we talk about the policy that's affecting American citizens and not what Donald Trump allegedly said, according to one guy who's pissed off because he got fired by Donald Trump?
There you go.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is J.D. Vance proving exactly how adept he is at calling the corporate press on their role inside of the regime. Their role inside of the regime is to, of course, be the water boys and to carry the hoaxes. The hoaxes don't exist. The hoaxes can't be made real without media repeating them. J.D. Vance just dispatching Jake Tapper to the point of tears, talking about CNN's implication in these hoaxes and how CNN has been the #1 hoax factory against Donald Trump for these years and has no leg to stand on.
Ask yourself a basic question about network integrity. You guys talked about the Russia hoax nonstop.
The FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it, and so we covered them.
And so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016.
No.
That was totally and preposterously false.
No.
Well, that's
what you just said is false. We covered an FBI investigation. I don't know why you want to talk about the FBI investigation.
You covered it in a way that gave credence to anonymous sources' accusations. You did it yourself. Your network did it, Jake. But again, can we talk about the issues that Americans care most about?
I'm talking about things that Donald Trump has said.
Yes.
If you have an issue with whether or not he's talking about the economy enough, That's between you and your running mate. I'm talking about things he has said this week.
Every single rally that he does, he talks about how he wants to unleash American energy so we can lower the cost of groceries.
Yes, he
talks
does.
about the fact that housing has become unaffordable. He talks about the wide open border, Jake. Kamala Harris and her allies, it's interesting. Kamala Harris and her media allies, and I would put CNN in this category. You guys seem to care.
I'll tell you that. They wouldn't.
Well, they should watch your network more because you guys seem to care more about Donald Trump's past than the future of the American
Exactly.
people. We're running this campaign on making the American dream.
I'm specifically asking about how Donald Trump is going to be president in the future should he win. And then we're being told
he's going to pursue economic policies that lower the cost of groceries and make life more affordable again. He talks about it every single day on the campaign trail, and so do I.
I don't know where this guy gets the energy. He's a really good lock-in with Trump because J.D. Vance does have insane levels of aura and energy, and J.D. Vance does multiple morning shows.
He does.
He's been doing this for weeks, and he does these sit-down interviews, and he makes himself available. Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, who cares? They're all interchangeable, right? They do not make themselves available. J.D. Vance makes himself available. He went on with Kristen Welker, same morning, right? Sunday morning, and 8, baby, 8. Go in.
So this week we learned that China was behind a broad hacking campaign targeting the phones of both presidential campaigns, highlighting the threat that China poses to this country. And yet Donald Trump recently called his domestic political opponents, quote, the enemy from within, and said they are more dangerous than Russia and China. Do you believe that people like Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi are more dangerous than Russia and China?
Well, I think what Donald Trump said is that those folks pose a greater threat to United States' peace and security because America is strong enough to stand up to any foreign adversary.
Do you agree with him? They pose a larger threat to the United States than Russia and China?
What he said, and I do agree with this, what he said is that the biggest threat we have in our country, it's not a foreign adversary because we can handle these guys. We can handle foreign conflicts. We can't handle, look, under Nancy Pelosi's long life in public leadership, the United States has gone from the preeminent industrial power of the world to second next to China. That fundamentally belongs on Nancy Pelosi's shoulders. And if we're going to have a more prosperous country, we've got to recognize our own leadership is why we lost our industrial base to China. Our own leadership is failing to lead this country into peace and prosperity. And of course, Kamala Harris, look, when I look at the biggest threats to America, Kristen, I think the fact that people can't afford groceries, the fact that we can't meet our recruitment goals in the military, the fact that Americans have a wide open southern border, that's a way bigger threat than any foreign threat. And yes, it's caused by broken leadership.
So we are preparing to go hear from J.D. Vance in New York City, preparing to go to the Donald Trump Madison Square Garden rally. We're hyped about it. We're very, very excited about it. But it's like the reason I'm excited about it particularly is because with Donald Trump and with Joe Rogan, with the amount of alternative media, I guess not even alternative media, because that would presuppose that like there's a preeminent media, and actually it's people who watch this channel. We're out in the streets, it's people who watch this channel and Joe Rogan and Flagrant and Theo Vaughn and Sean Ryan and all these other incredible independent creators. They have the real power. Joe Rogan has the real power. The corporate media is dead, and it died this election cycle. And it's going to be so awesome to see. And sending J.D. Vance in as a special operations team to just dismantle the corporate media every single Sunday is one of my favorite traditions of this election. Here are some of my favorite moments of J.D. Vance, starting off with him talking to Dana Bash about, are you here to just debate me? Yeah, this is how you win, boys.
You've now asked me 3 questions about comments that I made 3 years ago. I wonder what Kamala Harris thinks about the fact that she supported policies that open the American southern border. I wonder what Kamala Harris thinks about the fact that she lied to the American people about Joe Biden's middle facility for the office. You are interviewing me, Dana, because I respect the American people enough to sit down for an interview.
I appreciate that.
Kamala Harris has been the nominee for 3 weeks. She hasn't sat down.
If y'all know something, every time he bring up Kamala Harris, they try to cut him off every single time. I ain't talking about Kamala Harris. This is what they do. They want to run with these false things about Donald Trump. Everything Donald Trump say, they take it out of context. From the enemy from within. They act like that right there is bad. What they did was they'll take out that little one part where Donald Trump said from the enemy from within. They'll take that one part and just run with it. But these the same people that's calling this man Hitler. The same people saying that his rally is a Nazi rally. These are the same people. It's like they can say whatever they want about you, but Donald Trump can't say nothing about them. So, and that's the thing, though. The stuff that they be saying don't be true. They just take everything he say out of context and just run with it. And every time he say, why y'all keep talking to me about things that I said 3 years ago or things Donald Trump said years ago? What most importantly is what the people want to hear about, the economy, grocery prices. And every time J.D. Vance brings that up, they try to cut him off every single time. I ain't talking about that. We want to, just like what Jake Tapper did, I don't want to talk about that. He pretty much saying, forget the people, forget the economy. I don't want to talk about that. Let's just talk about what Donald Trump said. These people are on a smear campaign. And that's the reason why you see J.D. Vance, he was raising his voice. You know what I'm saying? At old boy, it just don't make any sense. When he was raising his voice at Jake Tapper, he had to. Especially when you got somebody like Jake Tapper that's interviewing this man, and when they hearing J.D. Vance talk, if he's saying something they don't want to hear, they try to cut him off. This is what they do every single time. Take everything out of context and want to bring up old talking points, bringing up old disgruntled people Donald Trump fired. Of course, everybody know when you fire somebody, they have a gripe against you. They'll start telling lies that, well, this is what he did or this is what they did. And they just run with it with no proof. It's he say, she say. CNN has no proof at all that Donald Trump said that. They're just going by what somebody said that Donald Trump fired. And of course, they're going to, if they want to get back in the media or get back over on CNN, they got to talk bad about Donald Trump. I mean, like, come on now.
For a real
Believe
interview.
me, we are asking. You're not going to get a disagreement there.
But the point is, Dana, you've got me for 15 minutes or however long you have me. We should be talking about public policies that
Exactly.
matter. How are we going to lower inflation? How are we going to reduce the cost of food and housing? How are we going to close down that southern border? We've talked so little about that. We've talked a lot more about a sarcastic remark I made 3 years ago. I think we should talk about the issues that most Americans care about.
And on the question of when he left the National Guard, he filed his election paperwork February 10th, 2005. That was a month before the National Guard even announced that it was possible that they would deploy to Iraq, and it ended up being 2 months. He retired 2 months before they actually got the paperwork.
But on CNN last night, Dana, one of the people who was actually in charge of him said they knew they were going to deploy to Iraq in February of 2004, fall of 2004. So he knew he was going to Iraq. He decided to quit, to retire, whatever word you want to use.
Retire.
Because he wanted to run for Congress. He lied about that. He said that when he decided to retire, he did not know that he was going to Iraq. That is another untruth, as even his senior military officer said. So again, I'm not criticizing the service. I'm criticizing the dishonesty. Dishonesty spoken in favor and for the purpose of political benefit. And I think that the most important thing here, Dana, is it goes to Kamala Harris's judgment. Tim Walz is ultimately going to be the vice president. Kamala Harris is in great health. I'm sure she's going to be president if she wins for 4 or maybe even 8 years. Why did Kamala Harris choose a person who has lied about their military service? I think that is a serious lapse in judgment. And I don't want to hear from a campaign spokesperson of Kamala Harris. I want to hear Kamala Harris herself address what I just said.
You know, I've seen a lot of statements from veterans, including those you served with, saying it's just untoward to be criticizing somebody who served for 24 years.
Dana, I'm not interested in the ad hominem. I've heard from a lot of veterans groups who criticize Tim Walz. The question is, he said he served in war, and he didn't. That is a dishonesty.
You see, this is what I'm talking about. This is what CNN do. They trying to cover up for Tim Walz, and he lied about his military record. He lied. The man didn't tote a gun. He didn't deploy. He didn't do anything. And she's trying to cover up for him. I mean, the same way she's giving pushback on J.D. Vance. She didn't give pushback to Tim Walz and Kamala Harris when they did that little sit-down interview when she needed help. The same man that want to put tampons in boys' bathrooms. And she's sitting over here trying to defend it when people that was with Tim Walz even said he lied. Just like he said he went to China at the Tiananmen Square. Remember, he lied about that. This man does nothing but lie. And here go Dana Bash. CNN, this is what they do. Try to take up for him. If that right there was on J.D. Vance and he said that he went to war and he didn't, they'll be talking about it.
Care less what one or the other person says about it. I care about what the truth is. The truth is that Tim Walz didn't tell the truth. And importantly, Dana, this is about Kamala Harris's judgment. And I think that when you ask, why has Kamala Harris allowed the border to be wide open? Why has Kamala Harris supported policies that have promoted the increase in inflation? I think it goes to the heart of her judgment. And I think that that's what we should be talking about.
One last question. Donald Trump didn't serve in the military. He received a medical draft deferment for bone spurs to avoid serving in the Vietnam War, reportedly as a favor to his father. Do you find that shameful, too?
I think that Donald Trump didn't serve in the military, but he didn't lie about it, Dana. I've known Donald Trump for a long time. He really honors our veterans. He honors me for my service. Donald Trump didn't lie about serving in the military. He didn't say that he went to Vietnam when he didn't. This is the problem. I don't.
You see, this is what they do. Now they bringing up Donald Trump. This is what they do. Just like what JD said. Donald Trump didn't lie and said that he did this or he did that or he didn't do this. Donald Trump didn't say any of that. So now, here she goes. She got to bring Donald Trump in because she's trying to defend Tampon Tim Walz. So, I mean, to be honest, I can't see how anybody watch CNN. I really, how can you watch them every single day? These people are just straight propaganda. That's all they push is propaganda, fake stuff, fake news. They take everything out of context and just make bold statement lies out of it. This is just unbelievable. So since Tim Walz has been caught, now she want to bring up Donald Trump. I mean, come on. Listen to what JD said again. Listen to this.
One last question. Donald Trump didn't serve in the military. He received a medical draft deferment for bone spurs to avoid serving in the Vietnam War, reportedly as a favor to his father. Do you find that shameful, too?
I think that Donald Trump didn't serve in the military, but he didn't lie about it, Dana. I've known Donald Trump for a long time. He really honors our veterans. He honors me for my service. Donald Trump didn't lie about serving in the military. He didn't say that he went to Vietnam when he didn't. This is the problem. I don't criticize anybody, whether they served our country or not. I think it's honorable to serve, but obviously a lot of people have reasons for not serving. I criticize somebody for embellishing their record, for lying, saying, I went to war. Dana, do you think that it's a problem that he said, I went to war, but he didn't actually? That seems to be a problem to me.
Well, they've corrected that. Let's move on to...
They've corrected it by admitting that he lied.
Let's move on to another important issue to voters.
Make just one more final point about this, Dana. Yes, you've heard a lot of the media focusing on every possible distraction from the story in Springfield. You've heard them focus on these Proud Boys marches. You've heard just in this interview, Dana, the suggestion that because some psychopath is calling it a bomb threat, somehow we have to then ignore 40,000 Springfieldians who are having their lives worsened by Kamala Harris's policies. Well, what is the implication, Dana? I actually love to have this conversation right now live on air.
Right.
What is the implication when you say you calling out these problems has caused a bomb threat? You accused me of causing a bomb threat. Doesn't that mean you should shut up about the residents of Springfield? Don't you realize you're engaged in basic propaganda to silence the concerns of American citizens?
I was quoting the actual mayor of Springfield, Ohio, begging after the bomb threats, begging federal officials, to please stop putting negative attention on his city. And I'm not talking about the policies. I'm not talking about the very real challenges that Springfield has. I'm talking about baseless rumors about Haitians eating dogs and cats.
Wow.
And after that was
well, she don't realize it was people from that town that stay there that said they seen it. My God, bro. These people are so freaking annoying. So what do J.D. Vance supposed to do? So if folks coming out saying, hey, these Haitians are taking ducks and stuff out of the lake, eating them. They took my dog. They took my cats. If they saying all these stuff, we supposed to just call them a lie? This right here was all on the news of people from that town talking about it. And she talking about what a mayor said. And then try to blame the bomb threat on J.D. Vance. I mean, these people don't do nothing but lie. This is what Dana Bash do. The same way she have all this pushback on J.D. Vance and Donald Trump Anytime she interviewed Tim Walz or Kamala Harris, she never does this. She give them softball interviews, no pushbacks, nothing. But when they come to J.D. Vance, she just want to push, because they just want to smear Donald Trump and smear J.D. Vance. That's the reason why they losing right now. Because people are tired of the propaganda. They tired of the lies. They tired of y'all calling them fascists and Hitler and all of this stuff. People are done with it.
On a debate stage, that is when these bomb threats started. And
Oh,
that is
God.
a fact. Senator, I just want to move on. I have two other quick issues separate from this that I want to talk to you about.
Dana,
Go ahead.
again,
Please, go ahead.
I think this is actually an important conversation.
Okay.
Look, the Springfield mayor, he's dealing with a lot of terrible things. I certainly sympathize with the guy, and we're going to try to help him out. But he did not accuse me of inciting a bomb threat. He just didn't. And if we're going to take the firsthand accounts of people who are on the ground in Springfield, why don't you bring on some of the people on your program who say that the migrants are eating their pets? You're applying a double standard here. You're saying if one person accuses J.D. Vance, I'm going to take that person's
you have
word
somebody
as the
who's-
gospel truth,
you have somebody
even if
whose
you
name-
misrepresent it. If you have another person who's saying they're eating the cats, you're going to completely ignore them, attack them, silence them, and harass them. That double standard is why people don't trust the media and why we're not talking about public policy 51 days out from a presidential election.
Okay. If you have somebody you want to tell us about who has proof that
If he got somebody, but yet they found everybody. They just like they found this liar model that comes out 2 weeks before an election and said Donald Trump did something to her 31 years ago. This is what they do. As long as it's something against Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they're going to talk about it. If it's something that's going to prove them wrong, they ain't finna bring anybody on. I mean, this woman is a liar.
somebody ate their cat, of course we want to hear that. We certainly have had no evidence that that is actually something that happened. And I just want to say, I have not accused you of anything. I am quoting the mayor who said, after these bomb threats, federal politicians are negatively spinning our city. They need to know they are hurting our city. It was their words that did it. Okay? That I'm quoting him, and it seems to be a
Dana,
cause and effect.
Roll the tape. You just accused me of inciting a bomb threat. There's no evidence of this. I condemn violence and threats of violence. We should be able to do that and also still talk about what's going on in Springfield.
About a third of the construction workforce in this country is Hispanic. Of those, a large portion are undocumented. So how do you propose to build all the housing necessary that we need in this country by removing all the people who are working in construction?
Well, I think it's a fair question because we know that back in the 1960s when we had very low levels of illegal immigration, Americans didn't buy houses, didn't build houses. But of course they did. And I'm being sarcastic, of course, in service of a point, Lulu, the assumption that because a large number of home builders now are using undocumented labor, that's the only way to build homes. I think, again,
the country is much bigger.
A fundamental...
The need is much bigger. I mean, I'm not arguing in favor of illegal immigration. I'm asking how you would deal with the knock-on effect of your proposal to remove millions of people who work in a critical part of the economy.
Well, I think that what you would do is you would take, let's say, for example, the 7 million prime-age men who have dropped out of the labor force, and you have a smaller number of women, but still millions of women prime-age who have dropped out of the labor force. You absolutely could re-engage folks into the American labor market. This is, I think...
To work in construction?
Of course you could.
I mean, the unemployment rate is 4.1%. Most people
unemployment rate, Lulu, this is important.
But most people who don't work can't work in the regular economy. They're in the military, they're parents, they're sick, they're old. They might not want to work in construction.
The unemployment rate does not count labor force participation dropouts. And again, this is one of the really deranged things that I think illegal immigration does to our society is it gets us in a mindset of saying we can only build houses with illegal immigrants when we have 7 million, just men, not even women, just men who have completely dropped out of the labor force. People say, well, Americans won't do those jobs. Americans won't do those jobs for below the table wages. They won't do those jobs for non-living wages.
Facts.
But people will do those jobs. They will just do those jobs at certain wages. And think about this from the perspective of an American company, okay? I want them to go searching in their own country for their own citizens. Sometimes people who may be struggling with addiction or trauma, get them re-engaged in American society. We cannot have an entire American business community that is giving up on American workers and then importing millions of illegal laborers. That is what we have thanks to Kamala Harris's border policies. I think it's one of the biggest drivers of inequality. It's one of the biggest reasons why we have millions of people who've dropped out of the labor force. Why try to re-engage an American citizen in a good job if you can just import somebody from Central America who's going to work under the table for poverty wages? It is a disgrace, and it has led to the evisceration of the American middle class.
Well, I'm telling you right now, Donald Trump did a good job picking J.D. Vance. I'm telling you, he does not play around. He know how to answer questions. He don't skate around the whole thing. He don't give you word salad. He tell you exactly what's on his mind. And as you can see, that, you know, J.D. Vance takes all these interviews where he go to CNN, MSNBC. He don't care. He will go over there and challenge them because he already knew going there what's going to happen. He know they're going to push back with lies. The same crap Jake Tapper did. Just straight lies. All they want to do is bash Donald Trump, smear him, because they know we got about 8-9 days left for the election, and they trying their best, but none of it is going to work. So like I said, y'all let me know in the comment section what y'all think about this. Thank you all for watching, especially the ones who made it to the end, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.